My friends, what you are about to hear will shake your heart and change how you see people forever. In a small bar in Lagos, a rough biker grabbed a young waitress and tore her shirt in front of everyone. But what he saw underneath made the whole bar go silent. What happened next will make you believe in miracles again. This is not just a story about kindness. This is about how one moment can change everything. Get ready to cry. Get ready to be inspired, because this true story will touch your soul in ways you never expected. The sun was setting over Lagos when Thunder walked into Mama Kemi's bar. Thunder was not his real name, but everyone called him that because his motorcycle made noise like storm clouds. He was tall and strong with scars on his face and arms covered in tattoos. His leather jacket was old and dirty. His boots were heavy and made loud sounds on the wooden floor. People in the bar looked at him with fear. Thunder had a reputation in the neighborhood. He was known for fighting and causing trouble. He never smiled and never said please or thank you. Tonight, Thunder was angry because his bike had broken down and he had no money to fix it. He sat at a corner table and ordered beer after beer. The other customers moved away from him. Even the music seemed quieter when Thunder was around. Amara was working her second job that night. During the day, she cleaned offices in Victoria Island. At night, she served drinks at Mama Kemi's bar. She was only 19 years old but looked tired like someone much older. Her uniform was clean but old with small holes that she had sewn up many times. Her shoes had no backstrap and made soft sounds when she walked. Amara always smiled at customers even when they were rude to her. She needed every naira she could earn. At home, her little brother Kemi was sick with malaria. Her mother sold groundnuts on the street, but did not make enough money. Amara was the only one keeping their family alive. She sent most of her money home to Ibadan, where her family lived. She slept on a mat in a small room with 3 other girls. But Amara never complained. She believed that hard work and kindness would change her life someday. Thunder had been drinking for 2 hours when Amara came to clean his table. She picked up the empty bottles and wiped the table with a wet cloth. Thunder looked at her with angry eyes. "You are too slow, girl," he said in a rough voice. Amara smiled and said, "Sorry, sir. I will be faster next time." Thunder did not like her smile. It reminded him of his sister who had died in a car accident 3 years ago. His sister used to smile just like that. Thunder felt pain in his heart, but he pushed it away with more anger. "I said you are slow. Are you deaf?" he shouted. The whole bar became quiet. Everyone was watching now. Amara's hands started to shake, but she kept cleaning. "I am sorry, sir. Please let me get you fresh beer," she said softly. But Thunder was too drunk and too angry to listen. He grabbed her arm hard. "I don't want your sorry. I want you to move faster," he yelled. What happened next shocked everyone in the bar. Thunder stood up quickly, and his big hand caught Amara's shirt. The old cloth was weak, and it tore down the front. Amara tried to cover herself with her hands, but it was too late. Everyone could see what was underneath her torn shirt. But it was not what anyone expected to see. There on Amara's chest was a large scar that went from her neck to her stomach. It was old and deep. But that was not what made everyone gasp. Around the scar, someone had drawn beautiful flowers with a pen. Small roses and sunflowers covered her skin like art. The flowers were drawn with so much love and care that they looked almost real. Thunder let go of her arm and stepped back. His face went from angry to confused. The whole bar was silent. Even the music had stopped. Amara quickly pulled her torn shirt together, but the damage was done. Everyone had seen her scar and the beautiful flowers that covered it. Mama Kemi, the owner of the bar, came running over with a cloth to help Amara cover herself. "What is wrong with you, Thunder?" she shouted. "This girl works hard and never causes trouble. Why do you hurt her?" Thunder could not answer. He kept staring at Amara, who was now crying quietly. The other customers were angry at Thunder. Some men stood up ready to fight him. But Amara raised her hand. "Please, no fighting," she said with tears in her eyes. "I am okay. Please sit down." Her voice was so gentle that even the angry men sat back down. Thunder had never seen someone so kind after being hurt. It confused him even more. He wanted to say sorry, but the words would not come out. Instead, he threw money on the table and started to walk away. But before he reached the door, he heard Amara's voice behind him. "Sir, you forgot your jacket," she called out. Thunder turned around and saw her holding his leather jacket that he had left on the chair. Thunder walked back slowly. He took his jacket but did not look at Amara's face. "Why are you kind to me after what I did?" he asked in a quiet voice. Amara smiled even though she was still crying. "Because being angry will not help anyone, sir," she said. "My mama taught me that kindness is free, but it costs nothing to give." Thunder felt something break inside his chest. No one had been kind to him for so long that he had forgotten how it felt. "What happened to you?" he asked, looking at where her scar was hidden under the cloth. Amara looked down. "When I was 14, I was in a fire," she said. "My little brother was trapped, and I went in to save him. The doctors saved my life, but they said I would always have this scar. People stare at me, and some say I am ugly. But my brother draws flowers on my scar every week before I come to Lagos for work. He says it makes me beautiful like a garden." Thunder felt tears in his eyes for the first time in 3 years. The whole bar was listening to Amara's story now. Even the toughest men had tears in their eyes. Mama Kemi put her arm around Amara. "Child, you never told us about your brother," she said. Amara wiped her tears. "He is only 12 years old, but he is so smart. He wants to be an artist someday. He draws the flowers to remind me that I am strong and beautiful. He says scars show that we survived something that could have killed us. Every flower he draws is a different reason why he loves me." Thunder sat down heavily in his chair. He thought about his own scars and how he hated them. He thought about his sister and how she used to draw pictures for him. He had thrown them all away after she died. Now he wished he still had them. He looked at Amara and saw his sister smile. But this time, instead of feeling angry, he felt something else. He felt hope. Thunder reached into his pocket and pulled out all the money he had. It was not much, maybe 3,000 naira, but it was all he had in the world. He put it on the table and pushed it toward Amara. "Take this," he said. "Use it to help your brother." Amara shook her head. "No, sir, I cannot take your money. You need it for your motorcycle." Thunder laughed for the first time in years. "My bike can wait. Your brother's art is more important." The whole bar started clapping. Other customers began putting money on Amara's table too. The man at the next table gave 2,000 naira. A woman gave her gold earrings. The bartender gave his tips from the whole week. In 10 minutes, there was more money on the table than Amara made in 3 months. She could not believe what was happening. "This is too much," she cried. "I cannot take all this." But Mama Kemi smiled and said, "Child, this is what happens when people see real love and sacrifice. Your brother's flowers have touched all our hearts tonight." But the biggest surprise was still coming. Thunder stood up and took off his leather jacket. Underneath, his arms were covered in tattoos, but they were not what people expected. Mixed in with the dark, angry tattoos were small, colorful flowers. Roses, sunflowers, and daisies, just like the ones Amara's brother drew. "My sister used to draw flowers on my arms when I was sad," Thunder said. "After she died, I got them tattooed so I would never forget her love. Tonight, seeing your brother's flowers on your scar, I remember why I loved those pictures. They were not just drawings. They were love made visible." The whole bar was crying now. Even Thunder had tears running down his face. Amara walked over to him and took his big scared hand in her small one. "Your sister sounds like she was beautiful," she said. "Just like your heart." Thunder looked down at this small girl who had forgiven him and shown him kindness when he deserved none. "What is your brother's name?" he asked. "Emeka," Amara replied. "His name means great things." Thunder smiled. "Then great things he will do. I promise you that." From that night on, Thunder became a different man. He used the money people donated to fix his bike, but instead of racing around causing trouble, he started a delivery service helping small businesses. Every week, he sent money to Emeka for art supplies. 6 months later, Emeka's flower drawings were being sold in art galleries in Lagos. Aduni quit her cleaning job and opened a small restaurant with Mama Kemi, and Thunder learned that the strongest thing a person can do is not to fight, but to forgive. The scar on Aduni's chest became famous in their neighborhood, not because it was ugly, but because it showed everyone that beauty comes from surviving pain and choosing love anyway. And the flowers that covered it reminded everyone that even in the darkest places, love can grow and bloom and change everything. 3 years later, Thunder and Aduni stood together in the same bar where their lives had changed forever. But now it looked completely different. The old wooden tables had been replaced with bright-colored ones. The walls were covered with Amaka's flower paintings. Children from the neighborhood came every evening to learn art from Emeka, who had moved to Lagos to study at the university. Thunder was no longer the angry man who scared people. His delivery business had grown so big that he employed 20 other young men from the streets. He taught them that real strength comes from helping others, not hurting them. Aduni's small restaurant next door served the best jollof rice in Lagos. She still wore her scar proudly, and new flowers appeared on it every week, drawn now not just by Emeka, but by all the children who loved her. The neighborhood had transformed from a place of fear to a place of hope. And it all started with one moment when kindness defeated anger. But the most beautiful part of the story was yet to come. On that 3rd anniversary, Thunder got down on one knee in front of everyone in the bar. In his big rough hands, he held a small ring that he had made himself from metal scraps and a tiny flower that Emeka had painted. "Aduni," he said with his voice shaking with emotion, "you taught me that love is stronger than anger. You showed me that scars can be made beautiful with the right kind of care. Will you let me spend my life drawing flowers on your heart the way your brother draws them on your skin?" Aduni cried tears of joy as she said yes. The whole bar erupted in cheers. Mama Kemi danced, Emeka painted hearts on the walls, and even the toughest men in Lagos wiped tears from their eyes. That night, under the stars of Lagos, 2 broken people who had found healing in each other's kindness promised to spend their lives proving that love can transform even the darkest stories into something beautiful. And every person who heard their story learned that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is choose to see the flowers instead of the scars. And so, my friends, their story did not end with a wedding or even with the cheers of that crowded bar. Because the truth is that love like theirs does not stop at one moment. It spreads like fire through dry grass, touching everyone it meets. People who once avoided Thunder now came to him for advice. Boys who once dreamed of joining gangs now dreamed of starting honest work because he showed them another way. Women who once hid their scars, whether on their skin or in their hearts, now walked proudly because Amara showed them that scars could be turned into gardens. And children across the neighborhood painted flowers on the walls, on their notebooks, even on each other's arms, all saying they were part of Amara and Emeka's garden of hope. The bar became more than a place to drink. It became a place where stories were told, where pain was shared, and where healing began. And the sight of Thunder and Amara walking together through Lagos, her scar glowing with fresh flowers, and his arms carrying both tattoos and groceries for old women on the street, became a living reminder that the greatest miracles are not thunderclaps from the sky, but small seeds of kindness planted in the soil of broken hearts. Seeds that, if watered with love and forgiveness, can grow into flowers strong enough to change the world forever. Years passed, and the city of Lagos kept moving with its usual speed and chaos. But in one corner of that giant city, there was a little bar and a little restaurant side by side. And they had become a kind of lighthouse in the darkness, a place where people came not just to eat or drink, but to remember that kindness could still be found in the world. Thunder, once feared and hated, now rode his motorcycle not with the roar of anger, but with the steady purpose of a man who had work to do, delivering food, packages, and sometimes even medicines to old people who had no one else to help them. And every time he stopped, children would run to him shouting, "Uncle Thunder, Uncle Thunder," because he always carried a pocket full of sweets and small pencils for them. While Amara, no longer the tired and frightened girl in a torn uniform, now wore bright African dresses sewn by the local women she employed in her little tailoring shop that grew beside the restaurant. And on her chest her scar was always decorated with flowers, not just from Emeka's hand anymore, but from a tradition that had spread like wildfire. Every child in the neighborhood wanted to take turns drawing a flower on Auntie Amara's scar because they said it gave them courage to face their own struggles. And some of those children carried scars of their own, from accidents, from sickness, from poverty. But when they pressed the marker to Amara's skin and saw their flower bloom among the garden already there, they began to believe that their own scars too could one day be beautiful. Emeka grew into a strong young man with eyes full of light, and his drawings reached places none of them had ever dreamed. Because one evening a tourist from America who wandered into Mama Kemi's bar saw his flower paintings on the wall and bought 3 of them, then showed them to a gallery in New York. And within a year Emeka's flowers were being displayed around the world. But no matter how far his art traveled, he always came back home every Sunday to sit with his sister and draw fresh flowers on her scar, whispering the same words he had whispered as a little boy. "You are my garden. You are my strength." And each time she heard it, her heart grew stronger. Thunder and Amara married in a simple ceremony filled with laughter and dancing. And they did not wear expensive clothes or have rich guests. But the whole neighborhood turned up to celebrate. And Mama Kemi cooked so much food that people ate until dawn. While Thunder, the man once known for breaking bottles and fists, now stood proudly beside his wife with tears in his eyes as he promised before everyone never to raise his hand in anger again, but only to lift people when they fell. And he kept that promise with his life. Together, they started a foundation called Flowers from Scars, where they gave free art supplies to children in hospitals and taught them to paint their wounds with colors of hope. And soon they were visiting orphanages, refugee camps, and villages, spreading not wealth, but something even greater, a belief that even broken things can be made beautiful again. One day, a television crew came to film them, and their story spread across Nigeria and beyond, and letters began to arrive from people they had never met. Some saying, "I have been ashamed of my scar for 20 years, but after hearing Amara's story, I drew my first flower on it today." Others saying, "I lost my brother, but Thunder's change taught me that I can still become better, not bitter," and many more saying simply, "Thank you for giving me hope." The once small bar in Lagos became so famous that visitors from abroad came just to sit there, to look at the wall of flowers, to meet the people whose kindness had turned a violent night into a miracle. And Mama Kemi, though older now, still welcomed everyone with her booming laugh, telling them, "This place is not a bar anymore, it is a garden where we water each other's hearts." Thunder would often sit in a corner watching all this, still wearing his old leather jacket, still carrying his scars. But now when he touched the flowers tattooed on his arms, he no longer felt pain but gratitude, because he understood at last that his sister had not left him. She had simply planted seeds that were waiting to grow in someone else's smile. And Amara's smile had been the sunlight those seeds needed. Sometimes at night when the city was quiet, Thunder and Amara would sit outside together under the Lagos stars, holding hands, and Amara would lean her head on his shoulder while he whispered, "I used to think thunder was only for storms, but now I know thunder can protect flowers too." And she would laugh softly and say, "And I used to think scars were only for shame, but now I know scars can be crowns." And in those moments, they both understood that life's hardest wounds could become its greatest treasures if only love was allowed to do its work. Their children were born into this world, not with riches of gold or diamonds, but with riches of stories. Because every night before bed, Amara would tell them the tale of the day she met their father in a bar, filled with fear and left with a miracle. And Thunder would nod and tell them, "Never forget, little ones. Kindness is the only fight worth winning." And the children would fall asleep dreaming not of castles or cars, but of gardens filled with endless flowers. And as the years turned into decades, the legend of Thunder, Amara, and Amika became a story passed from mouth to mouth across Nigeria, until even people who had never been to Lagos spoke of the scar that bloomed into flowers and the man who turned his fists into hands of healing. And so, my friends, the lesson remains as clear as ever. No matter how deep your wounds, no matter how heavy your mistakes, there's always a chance to choose love. Always a chance to see the flowers instead of the scars. Always a chance to change not just your own story, but the story of everyone who dares to believe in you.